I live at Dancing Rabbit Eco Village in rural Missouri, and I grow 99% of my food in my 20 by 20 garden plot. I also feed over 40,000 visitors we have to our village every year. I feed them personally from this tiny plot of long beans, radishes, and various edible greens. And guess what? You can grow this much in your tiny yard too. Oh, you're wondering how I have this banana in rural Missouri? Well, have I told you about my ebook you can get for just $40 a pop called How to Blow Smoke Up People's Ass for Fun and Profit? You know, actually, to be honest, I live a somewhat self-sufficient life in an eco-village in rural Missouri, and I grow a lot of my own food, but unlike some homesteaders you'll see on social media, I'm not going to tell you I produce 80% of my food on half an acre. Why? That's what this video is about. I'm also going to tell you about what food I do produce for myself, and also what I don't produce and need to buy from the wider economy. I see a lot of homesteading and urban farming videos of people claiming they produce most of their food in a small space, like a really small space, like half an acre or less. It's a great way to draw people's attention and get clicks for a video, but I have my doubts about whether these people can back up their claims with data, and they usually don't prove it in their video. How can they prove it? They don't give an inventory of all the food they eat and all the food they produce, so we only have their word to go on. I've never been interested in exaggerating my accomplishments in sustainable living. When people come to Dancing Rabbit Eco Village, overall we're very honest about the reality of the way we live. We don't exaggerate the impact we're having or the level of sustainability we're living. But being realistic about the potential roadblocks of being self-sufficient doesn't excite people nearly as much as blatantly exaggerating what you've accomplished. People are so much more excited by the prospect of someone doing what they thought was impossible. Far too often, what those people that are so inspiring are doing is simply lying about what they're really accomplishing. Maybe not intentionally, although sometimes that's the case, but they just know that exaggerating will be much more impressive and get people's attention. Exaggerating your accomplishments works though. It gets you way more attention and interest because, hey, you're literally doing the impossible, and some people are really easily drawn in by that. But I don't want to misrepresent what I do at Dancing Rabbit. I grow a lot of food, and though it's less sexy, I can't say I know how much of my food I grow. I just don't know. I can't say I grow 80% of my food on half an acre. I don't even think it's possible to grow 80% of the food for a single human, let alone a couple or 1,000 visitors on a half an acre. I think people just make a guesstimate and exaggerate what they produce for themselves. And if you aren't growing your staples, the high food value crops like grains and beans or meat or other animal protein, you definitely aren't coming close to producing 80% of your food on any amount of space. If you're just producing vegetables, it's questionable as to whether you could get 50% of your food value from them. Vegetables are almost entirely water, and you have to eat a lot of them to fulfill your basic nutritional needs. And if you're eating meat or dairy products, there's no way you're going to be able to produce the feed for all your animals on that half acre. And if you're buying in your animal feed, you need to include that in the equation for your half acre. And it's unlikely to fit in the 20% you're not taking credit for. Just buying a bunch of chicken feed so that you can produce your own eggs means that you aren't producing those eggs from your half acre. But I'm not just here to tell you what I'm not doing. I'm doing a lot, and I want to tell you all about that. I just hope you can be amazed by my more realistic, more truthful, and less exaggerated level of self-sufficiency. I'll tell you now that I'm by no means self-sufficient. My goal isn't to deter you from wanting to homestead and live more self-sufficiently. That's what we love. We love growing everything ourselves and not being dependent on the outside economy. But I just want you to know it's difficult to be totally self-sufficient. It takes a lot of work, and it's not the end of the world if you fall short. And if you really want to be self-sufficient, I'd recommend focusing on growing staple crops above vegetables and cutting meat out of your diet entirely, unless you have dozens of acres of pasture to run livestock on and tons of time in your day to tend them. The only kind of meat I could possibly see raising if you want to be self-sufficient is hogs, because they can be fed waste products to help you recycle nutrients from your land. And as always, I recommend cooperating with your neighbors instead of trying to do it all yourself. Self-sufficiency might sound sexy and hardcore, but it's not smart. Local community self-sufficiency is much smarter than self-sufficiency. Cooperating in the growing of food, sharing equipment to reduce expenses, and individually specializing in certain crops, then trading with neighbors, is a much more efficient way to produce what you need. So what do I produce? Those of you who follow my channel will have some idea of what I produce. I've been doing a lot of homesteading and self-sufficiency videos this season. I grow a lot of beans, mostly dry beans, but I also buy dry beans from time to time and buy canned refried beans. This is a nice quick meal with bought tortillas, but beans are something I could potentially grow a lot more of. I grow flour corn that I make into tamales and sometimes tortillas. I would like to incorporate this corn into my diet more, but I have yet to make regular use of it. It would be a great staple in my diet since it's something I can grow where I live. And many people around the world eat corn as a main staple of their diet. Products like tortilla chips that I buy from the store pretty regularly are unfortunately an industrially produced product and are not really possible to recreate at home. I grow most of my onions for the year, as I've talked about in other videos. I grow all my garlic. I'd say I grow half of my carrots. I grow beets some years, but I can only eat so much of them. I grow and can pretty much all of my tomato products, mostly tomato sauce that I use in many different dishes. I make all my own salsa from all ingredients I grow, so tomatoes, onions, garlic, peppers, and herbs. And I eat salsa pretty often as a regular part of my diet. I grow edamame for fresh eating and for freezing, as I've talked about in my vlogs. I grow a small amount of sweet corn for fresh eating, and some I freeze as well. I grow my own pears, and I also make and can pear sauce and dehydrate pears that I haven't been able to incorporate fully into my regular diet. I currently have a huge backstock of them. As you may know, I grow a lot of grapes that I make into wine and juice. I drink these products pretty regularly throughout the year. I do occasionally buy other wine and juice in Florida. I also buy other fruit in Florida, such as jackfruit, avocados, and some unusual tropical fruits from the farmer's market. Some other fruits I grow but have yet to find good uses for are sour pie cherries and gooseberries. During the season, I produce and eat my own summer squash, cucumbers, and eggplant. I freeze a lot of eggplant for use throughout the year. I also grow quite a bit of winter squash and sweet potatoes that I can store and eat throughout the winter in Florida. I had so many winter squash this year I was giving it away to other people in the village by the hundreds of pounds. I like winter squash, but I can't eat as much of it as some other crops. Most years I produce a lot of Chinese and regular white cabbage. I'll try to eat as much as I can fresh and occasionally turn it into kimchi and sauerkraut, and sometimes can it for long storage. I also grow at least one bed of broccoli that I use fresh. I've tried freezing it, but it just gets rubbery when thawed, and I don't think it's worth the freezer space. I'll grow a good amount of shelling and snow peas in the spring, but usually not enough to supply me for much of the year. I wish I could freeze more. Snow peas are not good frozen. Pea harvest is unpredictable though, and it's usually a brief source of nutrition. Most years I'll grow lettuce and make salads, but they bolt pretty quickly in our climate. When the hoop house was going, I had a much longer green season, and it was worthwhile growing a lot of salad mix and even copious amounts of spinach. But now that I go to Florida for the winter, I'm not able to do that. I also grow most of my own herbs, at least the ones I can grow in Missouri. I'll buy other stuff like cumin, turmeric, garam masala, and bay leaves, but I can grow my own oregano or harvest wild bergamot, all the basil I'll ever need, both dried and frozen. And I can grow my own thyme, coriander, mint, and sometimes rosemary. And as I talked about in a recent video, I produced my own honey this past season, and that's supplying most of my sugar needs. I'll see how long the approximately 2.5 gallons of honey I kept for myself will last. If it doesn't last all year, next year I'll either produce more or keep more for myself. In the past, I did produce my own eggs and chicken, but I haven't done that for years. It takes a lot of work to raise those kind of livestock. So what do I buy? Mostly my staples. I regularly buy cheddar cheese. I love cheddar cheese. Long ago I gave up trying to be vegan because I couldn't do without cheese. I still make my own feta and mozzarella pretty regularly from our Dancing Rabbit Dairy Co-op's organic raw milk, but I can't make cheddar. It's too complicated, so I buy it. I probably buy 20 to 25 pounds of it in a year. I buy rice regularly. I buy 25-pound bulk bags, and I probably eat about 50 pounds of rice in a year. I'd like to reduce my rice intake by supplementing it with corn, as I talked about earlier. Also, from time to time, I get packages of rice noodles from the Asian grocery store. I buy a lot of potatoes because they're a staple, and I find it difficult to grow and be able to store enough of them for myself. They also require a lot of work, and they're dirt cheap from the store. I buy all my wheat flour. I've tried to grow wheat on a small scale and found it very difficult because the birds eat it all. I'm sure growing it on a community scale would be possible. People at neighboring Sandhill and Red Earth Farms have grown it on a large enough scale to harvest with a small combine. And the more you grow, the less likely it will all be eaten by birds. Only in Florida do I really buy bread products. At Dancing Rabbit, we don't have any good bread around to be bought, so I have to make it myself from scratch. I buy flour from our community grocery store and make bagels and other breads, pizza dough as well. Some raw ingredients I'll buy from the Asian grocery store and stock up to use while I'm in Missouri. Some of these are rice noodles, fish sauce, coconut milk, and curry paste. These are the basis for dishes I make with the vegetables I produce myself. While in Florida, I've been buying produce at the farmer's market. I get cucumbers, eggplant, and summer squash mostly. I had been getting heads of lettuce, but lately I've been cutting back on lettuce salads. Looking at my receipts from grocery stores, I can see what I buy. I pretty much never buy meat. In the last couple years, I bought chicken a handful of times, but mostly I don't buy meat from the store. I have bought meat from producers at Dancing Rabbit. Usually this is pork. I buy tofu fairly often because I like it as a source of protein, and I think it's a great product for a lot of dishes. It's also plant-based, natural, and I like its versatility. Yes, I admit I'm a soy boy, but let's face it, all these self-proclaimed alpha males who call others soy boy and beta couldn't swing a splitting maul to save their lives. Anyways, all this is to say, tofu is a great product and has been eaten in Asia for thousands of years. It also gives you lots of protein without clogging your arteries. I buy my eggs, which are a main source of protein in my diet, at Eggs and More, our local organic egg producers at Dancing Rabbit, when I'm at Dancing Rabbit. When I'm in Florida, I'll buy organic ones from the grocery store, as locally produced eggs seem to be scarce and at a premium. Sweetwater Farm, where I organize workshops and do bookkeeping and accounting, has chickens, but they're no longer laying eggs and they really need to get more layers. If they had more eggs, I'd buy from them. I buy ice cream pretty regularly because it's the one dessert treat I really like. The ice cream I buy is usually store-bought. The dairy co-op has been making very small containers of ice cream from our local milk, but I rarely buy it. I could eat one of those containers in one sitting, so I'm not sure I could fulfill my ice cream cravings with the dairy co-op ice cream as much as I'd love to get it. I also tend to like particular flavors of ice cream, and the offerings of the dairy co-op pretty much never have moose tracks or peanut butter cups. If I'm going to indulge in ice cream, why not go all the way to the dark side? I also buy in most of the tea I drink, and occasionally will buy coffee either from Trader Joe's when I'm near one, not at Dancing Rabbit, or at the Mennonite store. And while in Florida, I will occasionally go to a cafe. As far as eating out, I pretty much never do for the time I'm at Dancing Rabbit, simply because there's nowhere close I would want to spend money to eat at. In Florida, I'll eat out occasionally, but usually only when I happen to be with friends. I never eat fast food. I really just prefer to eat food I make at home. I don't drink soda at all. Very occasionally I'll buy a bottle of tonic water at the grocery store, but pretty much water, sometimes with a lemon or lime slice, is my drink of choice, if I'm not drinking my own juice or wine. Oh my god. That probably covers it. I have bared all. I have made no effort to hide any unsustainable eating habits. Now you know literally everything I eat. If you have any other questions about my food self-sufficiency, leave a comment below. I've been doing these live streams. They're more political, but it's political ideology that gets me wanting to live this way. These are ideas that give me motivation to continue to live the way I do. So watch for these live streams, which I announce in community posts on my channel, and join the discussion. And I wanted to recommend a fellow YouTuber and friend, Laura, who has a channel that's all about self-sufficiency and freeing yourself in every way from the unsustainable aspects of our economy. She lives in the city, so some of her ideas involve dumpster diving and practices a bit more adaptable to city life. But she's also got all kinds of great tips about freeing yourself financially from the 9-to-5 rat race, creating financial and social wealth in a way that builds your community, and investing in a new sustainable economy. Put the link below. And also I've started doing some new stuff specifically for my Patreon. So now when you're a patron, you're gonna get some extra videos that are specially made for Patreon. I'm giving up my Instagram account because I've just put years into it and it doesn't really do anything and I don't get any kind of revenue from it. So I figured why not make these little sort of vlog updates about my life and just post them for the people who are patrons on Patreon who contribute to my channel. So that's what I'm going to do, because in the past I haven't had anything special for my patrons other than just early release, early access to my videos. So that's going to be a new thing. So if you want to contribute to my channel, become a patron, and then you can see this special content now that's, I'll probably be posting quite a bit of it because I do enjoy making these update videos, but I just have been posting them to Instagram and then really don't see a lot of attention. Probably when I post this video, I'll be back at Dancing Rabbit, and so I'll have a lot of new content that I'm going to start making once I get back there. Also, a little update. I've been working with some people here in Florida to start a retreat center, and we kind of put this idea together. We worked on a business plan and a pitch deck and everything, and we're looking for investors, and we've actually found some land that we think can work for us, and we're working with the owners of the land to turn it into a land trust. So that's kind of a neat project that's coming up. It's down here in Florida, and so this will be a new thing, like a retreat center, a place where we can teach workshops and have retreats, and also have this beautiful land that already has tons of fruit trees on it, growing on it, 24 acres, and we'll probably be, I'll be giving you more updates about that project in the future, and hopefully it will bloom and grow. Thanks to my current patrons for supporting this channel, and as always, give a thumbs up to the video and subscribe if you aren't already a subscriber, and click to get notifications. And we'll see you next time.